Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide. Hello, preschool peeps.
Hi, peeps.
We're back. Or we're still here because this is still one of the new episodes, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And today we're going to talk about decision making.
Yeah.
Which is an important early childhood skill, learning how to make decisions. It should be something that's taught really intentionally. And I don't know that we always do a good job at that. There's this expectation that, I'm going to show you what kindness is, so you're going to make a good decision. But there's a lot of thought that goes behind decision making. And I think that as adults, we sort of lose touch with what are the things that we have to reflect on and consider when making a decision.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of talk of like, oh, be kind to others. And that's and if you keep that in, then kids will automatically know how to make the right decisions. But no, they don't. They don't understand the thoughts that go behind what makes a decision. Well,
I think as adults, we'd make decisions, thousands of them every day. Mm-hmm. From smaller things like, do I want toast with my breakfast, which for some people may be a really big decision. Sometimes that's a really big decision for me, but it could be little things like, what flavor coffee do I want today, all the way to important financial and life decisions. Right. And we do these all day, every day. Our life is a series of decisions and we are the sum total of our choices, but we've gotten so used to doing this all the time, every day, that we don't think about the things that children need to learn to ask themselves when they have to decide something. So Alison and I thought, let's help the next generation to become really good decision makers and talk about the things that the children really need to consider with you all, so that you can go in your work with children or raising children and hopefully help them think through some of the decisions that they have to make in a really logical way, and in a way that helps them to consider the whole picture.
Yeah.
So, the first thing I think that we need to remember is that when we're talking to children about making a decision, they need to, at these young ages, pick between two concrete choices.
Right.
If we start to say to them, well, you could do this, or you could do that, or you could do this, you could do that, or you could do that, they can't pick. It's too much. It has to be like a choice of two things. And when we're saying to them, when they have to make a decision, if I were to say to young children, well, what could you do? What are your choices? They're going to come up with just one or two things.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all really do better when we have two things to pick from. I know that from standing in like the spaghetti sauce aisle in the supermarket. Like if they would just give me the two to choose from, it would be easier for me to choose. We need a couple things, and it's the same for kids. So I think when children are facing any kind of dilemma, especially those social emotional dilemmas, we need to say to them, well, what are two things that you could do?
Yeah.
And if they can't come up with it, help them.
Yeah. Talk them through everything. Be like, well, we could do this or we could do that. Does that sound right? And they will most likely just be like, yeah, okay. And then talk through those two choices,
Right. And then when they come up with choices, or you help them to think about choices and you come up with two choices, I think the next question we need to teach them is one of the most important questions. And it kind of relates to kindness too. And that question is, can anyone get hurt? Can you get hurt? Can anybody else get hurt?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because that starts to teach them in very simple terms, what are the consequences to this action, right? By putting it in like, can anyone get hurt? Can you get hurt first? And if you can't get hurt, can another person get hurt from this? And that gets them thinking about like, oh, wait, there's things that might happen if I make this choice.
And there are other people here, which they ordinarily don't much care about.
Right, exactly.
I remember having this sort of discussion one time outside when the kids there was a child who wanted to climb up the slide. And I have to tell you, this is something that I know, believe it or not, folks, can be controversial. Should the children be allowed to climb up the slide? And I'm going to
It
submit
is.
to you that yes, they should. They actually
should.
to say to them, you can't is a lie. They actually
Yeah.
can get up the slide.
They
You have to
can.
spot them.
Yeah.
You should be spotting them, but that's, what we do as teachers and parents, spot your children. And actually it builds some very important muscles and cognitive skills and stuff like that. So, can they climb up the slide? Yes. So I was once standing with a little boy outside on the playground, and he said, can I climb up the slide? And I said something like, well, can you climb up the slide? Is anyone going to get hurt?
Right.
And he stopped and he looked to see if anybody was at the top, and there wasn't. And he turned to me and he said, nobody's there. Yeah. And I said, well, if nobody's there and we want to make sure nobody's going to get hurt, maybe we should just say to people, I'm going to climb up the slide, anybody who's around. And he did. And I helped him, and he climbed up the slide, and it was fine. But it was not until I said to him, well, can anybody get hurt, that he looked around.
Yeah. Because they're not really thinking about other people. They're thinking like, I want to go up the slide. I'm going to go up the slide, and they're not thinking like, oh, I should be watching around for my classmates or my friends or somebody else who's on the slide. I think there's like really good things in posing questions like that. Like I had a very similar situation at one of my schools where we had several slides on our playground. And so I taught 4-year-olds, and they really wanted to climb the slides. And I used to say, yeah, go ahead, as long as it's okay. Or we had this rule of like, as if the smaller kids were on the playground, we wouldn't, because that was dangerous. But then they came up with this plan all on their own after talking about like, let's make sure there's no one around. Let's make sure it's safe. That they said, can we designate one slide to always be the up slide? And I said, wow, what a great idea.
That's a good idea, because then nobody can get hurt.
No one can get hurt. And we put like tape on it that had an arrow that pointed up so that people would know this is the up slide. And then all the other slides were down slides. And, so it was like, if you pose these questions to the children, they sometimes come up with ideas that even adults, me, did not think of. Okay. And I was like, wow, what a great idea. Let's implement that and see if it works. And then we did. And we told everybody at school, this is the up slide and this is what we're going to do. And it worked brilliantly. I think it's probably still the up slide, even though I don't work there anymore.
It's a great solution. Kids come up with the most amazing solutions when we ask them questions instead of making statements and instead of making decisions for them. So if we say to them, can anybody get hurt? And the decision is, no, nobody can get hurt. I think children also need to know that every decision we make helps us to reach a goal. Right from my piece of toast at breakfast, right? So my goal by eating breakfast is to maybe do something that's healthy, but also to not be hungry as I go through my morning, right? I'm going to eat breakfast. There are times where I literally have thought, here are the things I have to do. It's going to be a long time till I eat lunch. So I'm going to have a different kind of breakfast. There's always a goal. My goal then is don't be hungry until lunchtime. Always a goal. So if we say to children, well, what do you want to have happen? What's your goal? And we use those two questions, one right after the other. They learn what the word goal means. What do you want to have happen? What do you hope for? What do you want to have happen here? A child might say, I want to get to the top of the slide.
Okay.
Right? Something simple like that.
Something simple. I want to get to the top. Yeah.
Right. And then I think we also have to teach them that even when we make a decision, sometimes things don't go our way.
Right.
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 And I think before they take the action, we have to say to them, well, if that doesn't work, what else can we try? They need to know that when one plan doesn't work, they can come up with another plan. And that's something that young children literally do not know. It's why when somebody knocks down their block structure when they're really, really young, they just cry because they figure it's destroyed forever.
It's destroyed and I can't do it again.
And I can't do it again. And adults have to go over there and say, it's okay. We can rebuild. So
we will rebuild.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So, I think that they need to know that if something doesn't go the way they want, that they have another plan, that there's something else they can do. So you can say to them, well, if you want to get to the top and climbing up the slide doesn't work, what else can you do? You'll be amazed at how many kids will say, use the steps. You'll be amazed.
Steps.
And this is true of most situations. They will tell you what else they can do once we pose the question.
Yeah. Or it might be just a slight modification of the original plan. Like I want to climb up and get to the top. So I'm going to try climbing up this slide and you can't get up it. Maybe it's too steep for them. all right, well, maybe I still want to climb up the slide, but I'm going to go try that slide. It might be a little slight modification of the original plan. And that kind of shows like their capabilities, or maybe for some kids, I've seen kids who never get to the top until like a month later, but they keep trying every time they're there. And I think that shows them like this resilience of like, if I keep trying, I'm going to get stronger and I eventually will get to the top.
Well, that wasn't me in gym class with the rope. I'll tell you that. No, I gave up real quick on the rope.
No, me too. But there are some kids that still tried and they can do it, So
my hat's off to you. I'm like, I'm definitely a competitive person, but maybe not so much in that area. So what we have so far, getting back to the topic at hand, we digress. Back to the topic at hand, what we have so far is we would look at children and say, what are your two choices? And this is really good when they are having social emotional struggles, when somebody has something they want, when they want somebody to do something, when they're trying to get something to happen in that social emotional realm, to say, what are the two things you could do?
Yeah.
Will anybody get hurt? What do you want to have happen? And so what's your goal? And then if it doesn't work, what else can you do? And I know that that's a conversation, and most people are probably thinking that takes time. So this is what I'm going to submit, Allison. This is what I'm going to submit.
Okay.
All learning is a process. All learning takes time. And if we want to truly teach good decision making, we have to put in the time. And so do the children, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that there's any skill I've learned, or, any major skill that I've learned where I haven't put in the time to practice it and to think it through. I mean, when you even think about something like, oh my gosh, like teaching, you have to learn, you have to student teach, have mentors now in the beginning of your teaching time. Everything takes practice. When I started teaching in higher education, I had training. They gave us practice sessions and courses. And we have mentors in the beginning. It's always a process. And yes, this takes time. Can you do this with every single decision that they need to make? No, probably not.
No.
When we coach them through enough of them, and particularly those social emotional decisions, when we coach them through enough of them, this becomes their thinking, their internal dialogue. The voice in their own head will say, can anybody get hurt? What do I want to achieve here? If it doesn't work, what'll I do? And I think that when you think about yourselves as adults, we do that. We'll think, I want to move. I'm going to put in a bid here. And if that doesn't work, here's my next move. I feel like it's the steps we take, I think we do. And I think we're just not aware. But then there are also steps that we should take afterwards, because I would like this generation of children, I know Alison too, would like, and so many people would like, this generation of children to grow up to be reflective adults, to think about what they've done, what went well and what didn't, and why. So, we might ask them those questions. Did it work?
Yeah.
Even when the child gets up to the top of the slide, did it work?
Yeah, I would even maybe say, did it work? Or not only did it work, why did it work? You know what I mean? Like, take them through like you did it great. Yay. How did you do that? You know what I mean? Like, how to show them that they are capable of so many things if they just put their mind to it, or put their plan in action, or they make the good decision that these things could happen. Not just like, yay, okay, now let's move on. Like, no, yay, it worked. Why did it work? If you're building a tower and you've tried and tried and tried, I'm like, okay, let's try different blocks. Okay, cool. Why did that work? Start talking to them about things, and talking things through. Why did this work? If it didn't work, why didn't it work? What can we do differently to make it work?
Right. Why didn't it happen? And now what? Remember your plan was, because we asked them before what to do if it doesn't work, right? Remember your plan was to do this. Let's try.
Yeah. Let's try that plan.
Mm-hmm.
Let's modify the first plan. Like whatever their answer was to the, like, what happens if it doesn't work? then do that when it doesn't work. But I think we have to like let them make these mistakes in a safe way. You know, like if you know they're going to break their arm when they climb up that slide, then that's probably not a good thing. But
No.
if you're bracing them and you're spotting them and they fall, you're there to catch them. So like as long as they make the mistakes in a safe environment and you're making it safe for them, I think you need to allow them to make those mistakes so that they can learn, like, okay, that maybe wasn't the right decision. How can I fix it? Because if you don't let them make those mistakes and you're just letting everything happen perfectly, then they're not going to know what happens in 15 years when something goes wrong. You know, I don't know how to fix it because it didn't go perfectly.
I feel like there needs to be a disclaimer that we're not saying to you, take a bunch of children out and have them climb up the slide. And Alison makes a really good point. If it's like too steep or they're not going to make it or they're not strong enough yet, no, you don't want to do that.
You might want to try to steer them in a nice way. Be like, let's try this instead for now, you know, and we'll get to the point where maybe you're strong enough to go up that slide.
And you have to spot them. Wait, let's say it again. You have to spot them. You have to have your hand right behind them and under them, like your hands right there to help them so that if they fall directly into the seat that you're creating with your hands. As somebody who's done this a lot, you're creating a seat with your hands. You know, we live in a interesting society. Okay, so again, seat with your hands. People who are on YouTube can see me making a seat with my hands. Feel free to go to the video and see me do that. You know, whatever.
That's why I emphasize make
adults make a good decision. Ready? Think to yourself, is anybody going to get hurt here?
But
most children can get to the top of the slide. And I could just picture a child, if they made it to the top, me saying to them, well, did it work? And the child saying yes, and me saying, why did it work? And the kid saying, because I'm strong. That would be the answer out of a young kid. Because I put my feet up. Because I moved.
I know.
Because I'm a superhero.
Yeah. I know.
But we do need to take the time to teach actual decision making. We can't just expect kids to be born and learn to talk and now all of a sudden you understand how to make decisions.
Right, because as they grow, there's a lot of big decisions that they need to make, some of which might injure them, but others might just be how their life turns out. You know, when they're teenagers and they have to they have to decide what college to go to and what to study, you know, like, why do you want to study that? What is your goal out of this? And if that doesn't work, what's your plan B? And that, you know, what next? And if you teach that to them when they're growing up, then it does become their inner dialogue. Okay, if I want to be a med student and that doesn't work out, what's my plan B? So then if it doesn't work out, they're like, oh, it's okay. I'll just go plan B.
And Alison, you know what I would be? I would be like this. I would be like, are you going to be a med student? Okay. Can anybody get hurt here? Well, is anybody near me when I pass out from the blood? Yeah, medical. So see, that's where I decide medical school may not be for me. Is anybody going to be around when I'm like, ew? Okay, medical school might not be for me.
Right. So you know, after the first question, Cindy knows.
Cindy's not going to medical school.
Can I get hurt? Yes, I can hit my head when I pass out from blood. Okay, not for me.
Not for me. But you know, I have learned a lot about medicine from television. So there you go. I you know, I've watched so many of those shows that sometimes my husband will say, you should have gone into the field. And I'm like, no.
I'm sure it's exactly the same.
Oh, yeah. Okay, again, is anybody going to get hurt here? Yeah, you don't want my diagnosis.
It's exactly the same, yeah. Sure. So, that's like when I watch like Criminal Minds, I'm like, yeah, I can do that. I can be a forensic scientist. I can do that and look at the blood and see,
except when you say to yourself, I could solve crimes. Is anybody going to get hurt here? Yeah, me. Okay, I'm out. But teach them. We keep just laughing. So, you know, teach them these thought processes, which I guess I should summarize, right, Alison, since I jotted it down. Okay, here's the summary of the thought processes. We're going to teach children to pick from two choices. What are two choices? What could you do here? What are two things? Can anybody get hurt? You or anybody else here? Can anybody get hurt? What do you want to have happen? What is your goal? And if this doesn't work, what do you want to do next? And then afterward, they reflect when we say to them, did that work? Why? Did that not work? Why? And what can we do now? And then hopefully they grow up to become what we really need in this world, which are decent decision makers and people who consider their actions.
Yeah.
Consider your actions. Think before you do things. Think before you act. Think before you speak. And I don't know about you, but that was a tough lesson for me as I got older. And there are still times, folks, and I know that so many of you out there are going to relate to this. There are times when I will think to myself something very 2021 and grown up, like, oh, I think I'll post this on social media. And then I think, wait, do I want to do that?
Yeah.
Do I want... Do I want the response? Do I want it to come up in my memories? Do I want to get people all over my stuff? Do I want, you start to do this thing, but even as adults, we're still always going through this process of, wait, am I going to be emotionally hurt by doing that? Is somebody else going to get hurt? Right. It's a process.
But there are many people out there that don't think that through. As you see with celebrities who post things or teenagers, and then they get in trouble, so
it's true. How many celebrities have been just kind of bitten back by their own social media posts?
Right. Or around here in my town, there was something that happened with a high school kid. He posted something on social media and then he got his college scholarships taken away because it was not good what he posted. And so 18 years old and his whole life changed from one post on so
the answer to can anybody get hurt here should have been, I could lose my college acceptances.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So these questions are valid from early childhood, very, 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 very young, really young, early childhood, all the way through adulthood.
All the way through. Yeah.
So hopefully this will help you in helping to guide your children so that they grow up and become good decision makers.
Right.
In this crazy world in which we live.
Yes.
All right. So there are a few things before you leave us that we always want you to do.
We want you to rate us 5 stars on all the places that you can rate us. You can go to our website, howpreschoolteachersdoit.com. You can find us there. You can reach out to us. You can contact us if you want to talk about this episode or any previous episodes or episode you would like to see in the future. We love hearing from you. You can also reach us at Facebook, which is How Preschool Teachers Do It podcast. You can reach us there. You can message us. We usually get back pretty quickly if we're not too busy with life.
That's it. Other than
that's it. Okay. I'm rusty at it because we've been off for so long.
Oh no, I think that's it.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we wish you hope, and we will catch you again next Monday.
Bye, peeps.
Bye, everybody.